We are the living link, the African heritage. We do not fear death, we celebrate it. The fear of death is the fear of life itself, thus the dead are not dead. Because even in our graves we cannot rest. Do not ask me about the unrest. Ask me about the restless tears of millions of my people waking up to live in fear. Behold, my son, behold. Behold, my son, behold, because freedom is a distance like a bridge too far. High above the tombs of your ancestors' monuments, clustered on Africa's peak like the pain that burned her neck, depriving her of the right to navigation. Rivers filled with tears, tears flowing like Mandela's sweat as he crushed the stone to tame Africa's stubbornness. Behold, my son, behold the road from nature's mold of creation, en route to the shelter of existence, a place known to men as home, a place known to you and I, Africa, as home. Take note, Azania. Take note, for you are the look of my love, lest you forget, Wanamme, lest you forget that the road of life is called experience. And relax not, my son, relax not, my children. When freedom comes, Mudimu, freedom is not free without you. Freedom is not free without you. Freedom is the land that fills you even after death. So go and explore, my son. Go and explore, Azania. Go and explore, Mafrika, the avenues of reason, before you enter the last shelter, and I'll be your witness when the spirits of Mangaliso refuse you entry. Haye, Africa. Haye, Tokolo. Haye, Paketo.
Ratamisha, Baka Maponya, Lililoko Kamuka, Baka Mnageng, Lililoko Kamuka, all the thespians, everybody who is here, protocol observed. Artists hate protocol, and you understand where they come from, but we do understand, we are saying that everybody is welcome. My name is Nakedi Ribani. I will be the program director. I'm not here alone. I have a partner, and the two of us, he will introduce himself. We'll be the ones just guiding the program and seeing where we are getting to. May I allow my partner to introduce himself, and then we will take it from there. Thank you.
Dumelang, Tokozani, Khotsong, Salam alaikum. Na ki Mutsumi Makhene, ki ngwana raditso khana moleka, wa morena o sefadifadi, wa morena ntswela motse. You're all welcome. Ditlou tse lemo le ditholo tse lemo. And welcome also to the Market Theatre for hosting us, to friends of Maishe Maponya, to poets that will be paying their tribute today, to the musicians on stage, holding everything together, Ki Midleko Meropa. You're welcome, and you would have felt by now that this is not an ordinary process. We are saying farewell to an artist. And so, in the name of ancestors, all ancestors, including African ancestors, the Buddhas of this world, the Christs of this world, the Moseses of this world, they are welcome, and they've welcomed us to this special ritual, which, in my view, it's a ritual of the parting of the waters. We're here as artists to say to Tlo, to Maishe, to Mchana, to say farewell in the way we know best. We have some of his friends that come all the way. I'm not sure whether Makulu Lidwaba is here. Is Makulu here? I don't see him. I was going to introduce Makulu Lidwaba as one of the warriors of Diepkloof. Lebo Maishe Maponya, Bo Ingwapele, Madingwane, Bo Matsimela Manaka, who established way back in the 80s the Creative Youth Association in order to use the arts as a force of creative engagement, of expression.
We also want to say thank you to the prelude to this Medleko Meropa by Makomela Manaka, who is a son of ours, a son of great poets and great academics, actors, everything, musician. That is Moraga Matsimela Manaka, popularly known as Matsix, who has left the shores, who was also one of Maishe's best friends, both in terms of their work and also in terms of where they grew up together. And the poems that he did here, one of them was by Ingwapele, and it was Behold My Son. And the other one was by his father, Matsimela Manaka. You know, Makomela also is Nomsa Manaka's son, who is one of the best choreographers that we have in this country. So we have here the creme de la creme of the artists, performing artists, poets. Well, Ndate Makhene has went on and described all of you here who are here on the kind of things that you're doing. while we're still waiting and seeing who actually is here, who is not, because we had quite a long list, which is supposed to be star-studded, of colleagues who are going to be giving farewell to our great artist and friend here. We'll have again Midleko, Meropa performing, but before they do that, we'll have Themba Kanyati, who will do a poem. These are my boys, if I would say that. Okay. They always come and they show up. Thank you, guys. Themba Kanyati.
Yasho kuti ngimbongi. Mina ngivela kubo Matsimela Manaka, ngivela kubo Ingwapele, ngivela kubo Maishe. I am a black consciousness adherent, but my poetry comes from these people that I mentioned, and they have made me to face life, as I said. So inkondlo engizoyenza namhla ithi bayasaba bahambela nqanye njengezinkalankala baqubuka umbala njengonwabu baqubuka isikhumba njengezinyoka baqamba manga njengamaphepha. Ngithi ingqondo zethu zinkulu ingxabano zethu zincane kanti nengxenye yabo inathi. Ngithi hayi zonke izizwe zinawo amasiko kodwa hayi amabhuno ayadelela afuna ukudedelwa adlala ngezidumbu zethu sizokubabiza sibafundise ngazo uma bevuma siyokubaxolela uma bengavumi siyokubaveza nezenzo zabo ezimbi zemvelo bazenza izazi zaseMzantsi Afrika. Ngithi kuyavunguza ngenxa yobuyaluyalu, kuyavunguza ngenxa yobudedengu, kuyavunguza vukani. Ngivukela ugqozi ngithi ngiyimbongi nginentshisekelo yokunitshela ngale zinto ezingihluphayo njengembongi. Ngimncane nje ngibone igazi lamaqhawe liphalala emzini waseMamelodi. Ngimncane nginje ngibone izinqa zezalukwazi zembulwe ngesibhamu ngamabhunu eMamelodi ngenxa yesibhamu ezaziqhuma eMamelodi. Zaqhuma isibhamu awamaqhawe engahlomile lento ayivamile kodwa iphindile. Ngimbongi ngithi zinkulu ezivela kithi zinkulu ezizayo azinakushicelelwa emaphepheni abanakuba nesikhathi sokuba nabafazi babo zinqunywa amakhanda ziyekwe. Ngimbongi
Maishe would have been so proud of you. I think before we leave here, Kanyachi, you are an actor, you are umbongi, everything. I want you to do a Maishe before we leave. When I say a Maishe, you know, Maishe was everything. We don't have to say quite a lot of the things that Maishe, all the things that he was, that he embodied. The speakers will come and say about how Maishe, as a poet, as a performing artist, as a producer, as an academic, as a playwright, gape Maishe o ba rata lekiba gape. Gale ka bona Maishe a dira dilo tsa gagwe mo a betha lekiba bo ka sekgolo. So when I tswa Mamelodi wa di tseba dilo tseo. And before Sipilamo, you have to do the Maishe, when Maishe would be in his elements, when he would be doing his performances and he's reading his poems and he's doing things, and then he would be almost like he is in another world, and he would just be taken up, and he would read, and he would dance, he would move. It was quite a sight to behold. Right now, we had so many social media messages. Some of them, they repeat themselves. We don't want to, but we wanted to read just a little bit of some of them that have been said and been going on. And as time comes, and we will read a little bit of some of them so that we try not to have a balance between what people had said and what would be coming into the obituary, because it will come into the obituary later as well when we read the obituary. But please, let's be alive. Whatever happened, really, Maishe had not been well for some time. Lelapa le a tseba, they went with him, they'd been on the journey. All his friends, people that had been with him throughout the journey, they know all of this, they went through this. Today, we are celebrating Sinatla, we are celebrating Klo, we are celebrating where Maishe had been in the journey that had been throughout his life, in terms of his performing arts, in terms of his life, in terms of his personal life, in terms of his politics as well. So let's be alive. Let's get into it and be and see what Maishe and who Maishe had been, who he is, and what he would have loved. Right now, I think Ntate Magene is going to introduce our next speaker, who most of you know, but maybe don't know him as well as, he would tell you the kind of person that he is. And in between, after that, we'll just read some concepts and some little articles or something out of Maishe's book. Over to you, Ntate Magene.
Dumelang. Re Mark Haywood, welcome to the stage. Neribua elia Ntate Haywood. Bamotsa hore, do you know Mutsumi Makene? He said, no, he doesn't. And I said to him, I know him, because his name precedes him. I know him from the 80s. Asebetsale artists, black artists in the township, particularly through connections of staff writer and poets that come from the struggle, the resistance movement. And I think you worked on a project, Le Rashitanga, Rashaga Rashitanga, the two rivers. From the two rivers, what he does not know is that we, with Matsemela Manaka, created a student production called Domba, The Last Dance, because he was privileged to witness the last graduation initiation to womanhood. Mark, welcome.
Dumelang. I'm sorry that I don't bring a poem, or that I don't bring beautiful music like we've just heard. All I've come to bring is my memories of a great, wonderful beautiful artist and man. My claim to Maishe is as a friend and as a comrade, but using the word comrade in the purest sense of the term, not how we think of comrade today as a term that has become polluted with hypocrisy, but comrade as people who shared a vision, shared beliefs. I feel privileged to have been a friend of Maishe, because the privilege was to know somebody of remarkable integrity and consistency in his life, in his writings, and in his work. I met Maishe long before I met Maishe. In fact, I think Maishe probably was one of those poets who reached out to me when I was a young man in the 1980s, struggling with my complicity, struggling with my whiteness, struggling with the oppression that existed in our society. And I read a book, it was like a Bible to me, an anthology of poetry that was edited by Ahmad Dango, called Voices from Within. And I'm not sure if Maishe was one of those voices. I tried to find out this morning, I lost that book many years ago, whether Maishe was one of the poets that was in there. But whether he was in there or not, he should have been in there, because it was one of those voices that spoke truth to oppression, truth to racism, truth to discrimination. And so I was lucky many years later when, for reasons I can't fully remember, Maishe became a friend of mine. And he became a friend of mine on issues that really again spoke to Maishe's truth. I got to know Maishe over the issue of Michael Kamape, the little boy who drowned in the toilet, in the pit toilet at his school in Limpopo. And the death of Michael Kamape was something that I think seared the soul of Maishe. He wrote a poem about it. His anthology, or his book of poems, Das Kak in the Land, I'm sure draws from the fact that it's kak when small boys die in shit. I knew Maishe when we marched together as part of Save South Africa against corruption. And I was privileged to be able to give Maishe a little space on the day when his book, Das Kak in the Land, was launched in 2018. So it was terribly painful last week to hear of his passing. But as all I can say is that Maishe may be still, but Maishe's voice is not still. His artistic voice will never be still. It will always be with us. And so I'm almost back to where I was in the 1980s when I knew Maishe but didn't know Maishe. I'm left with a voice but without a body, with a spirit that will live throughout time, that will outlive time, and that when these days of turmoil and trouble in our country have passed, when perhaps corruption and inequality and shit and pain is over, we will look to people like Maishe as the people who continued to speak truth in that time, who weren't tempted by power or by riches, but maintained a soul and a vision and an orientation to everything that mattered, from when he drew his first breath to when he drew his last breath. So to Maishe's family, who I don't know very many of you, to his friends, to his artists, to our community of poets, I just want to say thank you for a beautiful soul, a beautiful man, and a beautiful artist. Thank you.
I greet you as an advocate of the long lineage of creative custodians of our cultural heritage. I greet you in the name of those who move in our midst even when we no longer see them, because the vitality of their presence propels the subatomic pulse of our blood, making the minutiae of our consciousness dance with acknowledgement of their spiritual permeance. I greet you because I have no choice but to open the valve of my being to become a conduit of the forces that guide us in the magnetism of our destinies. I greet you as my heart unfolds to enfold with compassion the blood of our blood. I greet you on behalf of my brother and creative associate, Maishe Maponya, who I had not seen for many years before learning of his eternal transcendence on the 29th of July, 2021. I remember the days when I facilitated the staging of Maishe's play Umongigazi, The Nurse, at Oval House Theatre in London. He and his cast, which included Gcina Mhlophe, his younger brother Maishe Maponya, the honey-voiced Sidwell Yola, and Bernard Mutlo, stayed at my house for a week. We engaged in passionate conversations about the liberating role of the arts in a society that was bleeding for change, a role that we both actively contributed to over several decades. Let it burn. For Maishe Maponya, playwright, poet, cultural heritage steward. I remember the clouds rising, the original curtain of your call to the arena with no walls, a grand amphitheater with ceramic jars arranged beneath the earthen seating in the shape and resonance of the amplified heavenly dome of stars from which our forebears descended. The evaporation of the marshes of our history gifted you dried reeds to carve flutes for the herders of the plains of our migration to become your chorus. At the tips of your melodic fingers, mysteries were explained through the rituals of your sacred enunciations and laid bare for all to imbibe through the pores of an elevated consciousness. I was on the other side of the turbulent waters in the embrace of the night when I heard of your transcendence into the realm of eternal light. And from the dream I rose and shouted, sending ripples across the vast chasm of the seasons of the damnation of our dignity. And I sent my voice into the fire on the water, and I said, let it burn, let it turn with the tide that carries us on the crest of its promise. For there will always be the chosen one to ride to the top of the mountain to receive the message of our quest for freedom from the claws that suffocate the spirit of our capture. Let the fire burn so that its flames will rise and shame the sun for continuing to shine only to glorify the ignominy of mediocrity, of those who luxuriate in the quagmire of iniquity and the dominion of infamy. We see the outline of your shadow even in the darkest night, so we know where to wait for your rising with the African sun. Let the pallbearers dance as they carry you on your final journey, on this, the stage of your first choreography, as the medium of the testimony of our watchful ancestors who never really left us, but wait their turn in the wings to enter on your cue and divine the sacred traverse of our destinies. Let the cogs of time's stutter turn to catch up to the truth of your vision of a nation of truly liberated minds. Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn.
Mango Chabango and Maishe Maponya and I used to be called the Three Musketeers. Now, Mango, sadly, has passed away. Maishe and I am left, the last one of them. I'm not going to go into a history of how I became Maishe's big brother and how he became my young brother. Instead, I want to say something in a medium which he himself was an expert in. Maishe was not only one of South Africa's greatest playwrights, but he was definitely one of South Africa's greatest poets. And I actually I edited two of his books of poetry. This one, the first one, which was called This Land is My Witness, Poems on the State of the Nation. And this one here, which was called Truth Be Told, Das Kak and die Land. Sorry, I couldn't get the lettering to be the right way around. I decided that I wanted Maishe to know something about himself, what I felt about him, and I hope many, many people do feel about him, while he was still alive. So I wrote this poem, and I sent it to him, I recorded it, and he asked him whether he'd read it, and whether he'd heard it, listened to it. And he said, "Young brother, Mshengu, you will read it at my funeral." I said, no, Maishe, I want you to hear it now. And here I am, reading an extract of it to you, now that he has left us. It's called Kahlamba's Rainbow, for my small brother, Maishe, by Robert Mshengu Kavanagh. This is an extract. My small brother, Maishe, is huge. In fact, he is an icon. Some talk quite glibly of cultural icons before they place them on the shelf and then press on with other busyness. Culture is a term which covers many things. For instance, there's the culture of theft and that of trying to fool all the people all the time. I see him now, as he used to stand, so strong and deadly serious, his hands resting firmly on the lectern as he tells those who would still hear the truth that must be told. Truth be told, das Kak and die Land. And his listeners echo all, das Kak. Truths not welcome in the technicolor world of rainbows. Standing proudly there, he wears his trademark skull cap, black, with embroidered border. A picture of the past, a challenge posed to those who do not know or have forgotten the time of storm, the thunderclaps of old Kahlamba. That cap, which stamps him one of those who tore away the brand of Yami from the mind, who spoke, acted, sang and wrote, "I'm black and proud. Be black, be serious, don't play around. Our freedom is no giggling matter. Our freedom, you cannot buy it, though it's easy to betray. Das kak and die land. They feed us with it, and we eat it from day to day. It is not ours, but theirs. We eat their kak. Where is the pride? Oh, Maishe. Wounds, we bleed, we march, the ghetto, his poems. They tell us as it is. No whitewashed nonsense. What he and his brothers, Matsimela, Mwapele, Makulu, Steve, did tell the people. There once was a black nation. Where is it now? Somewhere over the rainbow, flying with the bluebirds, not even blackbirds, sis. Yes, my small brother is huge, an icon, a giant from the past, a truth teller in a time, in a place which has no time for truth tellers. Maponya, kina Maishe letebele, Piri afita manamane atimela, and so on. When still battered by the storm, we had our fearless truth tellers, but that was then. It isn't now. Now they say, comrade, we have moved on. We don't want to be disturbed. The do not disturb signs hang on the doors of hotel rooms. They snuggle in the warmth of an abandoned revolution. My brother, you will go, and I will go. Our time is up. But what will those who come after us do when the truth tellers are all gone? It was then I opened up, gave voice to all my thoughts. I spoke to him and said, your children will not forget you. Your words, your ideals, your truths live on. They speak, they sing, they dance, they have been printed. Your children will hear. If not, then what does it mean to be an icon? They will rise and say no to those who fear you. Those who say, that was then, now's a new ball game. Our embarrassing generation of punctured comrades. The children will say, no more. As you did before in 76, no more. What was then is now. What then was truth is still truth. The children will learn from you. They will learn there once were heroes. There once were those like you. I'm only saying, in other words, what the people, still wet from the long vanished storm, were saying. They talked in Zulu, in Sesotho, some Shweshwe. After all, Kahlamba is not far from Tababusiu. And others will say it all in Pedi, Tsonga, Tswana, isiXhosa. Wena Maishe, Maponya's son, we shall never forget you. Truth teller then, and truth teller now. Matla, all power to our people, all power.
Africa, Africa. O Montsunyana. Ki ipoka ka wena mo Africa o Montsunyana. Wa leleme le thata. Das Kak in the land. Why Jokuja? Why Jokuja? Why Jokuja? Why Jokuja? Why Jokuja?
Ours was not the usual met in the industry and yada yada. No, we had a special bond. I met Maishe while I was very young, Kuchai, Deep Kloof. He literally took my hand when I came into the industry and introduced me to a lot of places. And he believed in me, and I'll always appreciate that, Maishe. Remija magana go fetwa. Ke yena magana go fetwa. Ka nnete ke magana go fetwa. Because the skak and the land. He took no nonsense from anyone. Maishe Maponya, re latlhegetswe. Mama ke di bone, re latlhegetswe. A re wele ka khutšo Morena Maponya.
Thank you. And Tate Makgene had actually said that the Maponyas will be coming on stage. While we usher the Maponyas to come on stage, re tla bitsa kgaitsedi ya Maishe Maponya. And then while she does that, gore a tla tlo reta Maishe will be followed by Roy Maponya on behalf of the family to represent the Maponyas. Ekwang ge ke itheta nna ke le Maishe, ke nna Isaya Maishe Letebele. Phiri ya feta manamane a timela. Ke setlogolo sa ga Maponya a segodi buela mawetši, segodi buela bokwaokwago, mawetši a bo maphatlhe a mothata a feta, mathata wawa. E tla o ifeleletse, Mamodipa Maponya, e tla o tlo reta.
Ke a le dumedisa ka moka, nna ke nna Mamodipa Maponya. Maishe ke tlhatlhama Maishe. Ke Maishe Letebele. Ke phiri a feta manamane a timela. Ke setlogolo sa Mokgadi Letepa go ja lephara le bašomi. Ke morwa disego tša bafiti ba tsela. Ke ra ena mankgwatša botšetša mola magala o ntšhapala. Ke Maponya a segodi. Ke segodi tlou ya mawetši. Ke masonyana maila kala maphethe a mothata a feta mothata wao. Ke batho ba botšhadiba, Thaba Maponya, Thaba Bommatšhelane. Ke batho ba boya go sekgote sa mapele ga batho sa thari ya namane. Ke barwana ba fega tlhofa mo thabeng re feganang. Age ditlouwe, age mokgotsi we, age boela gae ya tla diga geno. Re godisitše ke maswika. Age ditlou tša ga Maponya. Sogodiwe, sogodi boela mawetši, marupong go boela go sa boeleng ke teng.
I would like to pass our deepest condolences from my family to the Maponya family. Kidibong, as well as the children, your grief is our grief, your sorrow is our sorrow, your celebration is our celebration as well. I decided, very difficult for me, to write a poem. You cannot capture in words what Maponya really meant to all of us. The moment comes when flesh and spirit pass and fond memories are born. What memories? Memories that trail years of struggles and redemption. We remember you, Ponyx, your stentorian voice declaiming the poetry of hope in bleak nights and days of knuckles, sirens, and boots, in a bleeding theater of survival, theater of dreams and hopes. In remembering you, even a twinkling star or a low-sounding laughter, a cough floods us with memories of you. Memories of your generosity of spirit. You walked amongst us always with a smile, resonant and warm, reaffirming, reassuring, comforting, without a trace of bitterness. Even when wintry winds of political onslaughts lacerated memories of our struggle.
The dead do not die. They are time travelers between this world and other worlds. In other words, we are all travelers, you and I. We are passers-by, collectors of story. Rebo maditsela, rena ba go tšwa morago, re ya pele. Rena ba mešomo ya rena e re etelletše pele. Tšeo re di thomilego ra bjala, le kgono mešomo yeo e re etelletše pele. And then you will be reflection. You will be a monument. You will be a reference, a remnant of who we used to be. The dead do not die. They teach us how to live. They are a vision and a light ahead. So you will be a star looking from above, from within, from the other world into this one. Your eyes will shine that light onto us. We, the little ones who need direction, you will be guidance, reference. You will be reflection, because the dead do not die.
Yeah, what a surprise. Good day, everybody. We've known for some time that our brother, Maishe, is not well. And however heavy the disease may be or whatever is causing the illness, you never are prepared for the ending, and when it comes, you are shocked, unsettled, confused. But deep down, when I listen to the colleagues and look back at his achievement, at his journey, I realize that I took him for granted. I have lived with him, I saw him, I used to hero worship him in the 70s with all that he had to give, to impart to us, and his engagement generally and socially and politically. But as time went on, we concentrated on other things, including trying to build ourselves up and be part of this society economically. And he withdrew a little from political activism, but you can never really withdraw if you have his conscience, his sense of fairness, and his sense of engagement. So he was a warrior through and through. Even in peaceful moments, I would look at him and think, I wish I had 1% of what he is. I admired his fairness. I used to enjoy going to certain meetings with him where he had to engage with communities, with a union here and there, or union member. And his sense of belonging, and he could create that in everybody. So even if you anticipated a hostile reception, but with him being with you, you knew you would move out of that room or that environment having convinced the people that here was someone who had goodwill and who had their prosperity at heart. I spent a lot of time in the last couple of years with him. As I said at the beginning, I took him for granted. He ceased to be the political activist that I looked up to in the 70s, 80s, and the exchanges we had on that and on our political direction and where we would end up one day, because the ultimate goal was to free this land, to express what freedom is, be it in arts, in society, and even at home as ordinary individuals. So the time I've spent with him in the last couple of years were an eye-opener of how one can evolve and mature. And now I'm not talking about him, but of us in his surroundings, instilling in us the sense of fairness that should never be lost, whatever success one achieves throughout life. I've seen him talk to ordinary people with the same humbleness that he would talk to people he knew well, even people that you could claim were enemies. I hate to use that word, also in connection with him. But he always wanted to tell it the way it was. So the word corruption in connection with him is a foreign word, and the fairness that I keep on thinking of whenever I think of him is something that you get born with it, but you can learn it also from people like Maishe. The family is we're sad that he's gone from us, and I'm particularly sad because, as I said, I took him for granted. There were several things that we still were working on, and I could have learned a lot from him, and I depended on him in most cases, but he's no more. So the baton has been passed on, and we have enough youngsters in the family that may be prepared to go that route, to lead the family, the youngsters, and everybody else into the future. But please, let's not allow his legacy to be forgotten. He did a lot, and he did all that from the bottom of his heart. I'd like to say to be strong during these times. We are there, and there's still a lot to go through, but I hope our hearts will mellow down, we will heal as time goes on, and start to cherish again and again what he has achieved for us, the family, for our communities, and for his fellow colleagues that he was so passionate about, and their work. Ke a leboga. Re bala hantle, sepela gabotse tlo boela mawetse.
Tlo, ba re boela mawetse. Na kana ba ga mma ba ga Modiba ba tswa teng ko le bona. Ba kudama ba segorong bana ba Swana. Bana ba Matemalepo. At this time we will have two presentations. Firstly, I would like to invite Andile Xaba o kopileng ke lelapa to come and read obituary ya Maishe. Thereafter, I'm going to ask Ngwana Bulane, Ngwana Boreneng, a itukise ka gore o na le mpho e tswang from all artists, o kgothatsa lelapa la Maponya. Re Xaba. As he comes on stage, we sing of the landing of a third force on townships. In the middle of the night, limb picking the morning after, when they've come and gone, in the still of the night. Just what song is this the poet must sing? We sing of the march to be, the march to shout, not to pray, not to mourn, the march to demand our freedom, to be free again. And as we sing, we march. Arise, Chloe.
I first met Maishe in the 90s when I was a writer, a young arts writer. And I just remember that I was young and just starting out in the industry. And, you know, he just treated me as an equal. He never made a big deal. You know, by then he had his plays performed at the DOCC. He'd had his plays performed at the Market Theatre. He'd had his plays performed in Scotland, in England, in New York. And he was just very accommodating, you know. He didn't make a big deal that he'd achieved so much, that it originated a lot of things. That he'd originated resistance theater in this country, that we can speak of a time, you know, we can speak of a time before that generation, okay? And when they came and how they transformed the theater and the poetry landscape in this country. I mean, their commitment and their achievements are really unparalleled. I then reconnected with him when I'd also changed my life. I'd, you know, worked in various places. And then I decided to be an academic. And, you know, I work at University of South Africa. And there we've got a project of documenting South African theater, South African playwrights. And, you know, when I called him, I wasn't sure, you know, what, whether, you know, he would consider working with us. But, you know, he readily agreed, and, you know, he was game from day one. He was so generous, you know, and with his time, with his material. I mean, he's donated a lot of his original scripts, letters. There are letters there that the police wrote to him when they were wanting to ban him. There are letters there from when he was in England, because he didn't have a, you know, when he was out of the country, he didn't have a passport to come back. So he couldn't, for some time, he couldn't come back into the country. And, you know, so we've got letters showing that history, how his whole, you know, citizenship wasn't recognized by, you know, by the then apartheid government. So it's quite a rich collection, full of his letters. We've got his diaries, you know. He served, I say here, he served the arts community for, you know, for 45 years, I think. But the material that we have is just going to be with us, is going to keep us busy in academia for the next 45 years. So his name is not going to die, because he was so meticulous in terms of keeping records and just the type of person that he was. You know, he had so many different kinds of relationships in various parts of the arts sector in South Africa. And so this richness, you know, is concentrated in his life. And this is the legacy that he's left for us. But this is really maybe a summation of what people have said, so I'll probably be repeating a lot of what people have said, but I think it's important just to put on record, what his life was about in 4 pages. And his achievements, because they're immense. But I can tell you now that, there are a number of students that are writing master's theses, doctoral studies on him. So his name in academia is still up there, Anyway, I say here that a giant tree of knowledge has rejoined the great fraternal lineage of eternal African leaders. Maishe Maponya was born in Alexander on 4 September 1951 and passed away in Johannesburg on 29 July 2021. After bravely fighting illness for 3 years, Maponya has departed the earth, but leaves us a proud and honorable legacy as a husband, father, brother to the family, as well as the wider South African family and his friends within the international community. He had strong views, but was generous, calm, and kind. He did not elevate himself above everybody else and believed in treating people in a fair way. Maponya is survived by his wife, Kidibone Adelaide, whom he married 2 weeks before the Soweto uprisings of 1976. His children are Mangkhotsetse, Itumeleng, Khonse, and Lishigo, all Maponyas, as well as Geitumetse Maketa and Portia Ramokgopa. He is also survived by his grandchild, Ganyezi Maishe Maponya. Maishe Maponya was 70 years old when he passed on, but his charisma and youthful energy, typified by his smile, defined the adage that age is nothing but a number. He had an agile mind that did not stop to ask the important questions about South Africa. Throughout his life, he interrogated the role of the artist in South Africa and was acutely aware of the pitfalls that can occur when artists become complacent in deference to political office bearers and general officialdom. He envisaged a country in which artists disregarded easy financial gains but stayed true to the principles of speaking truth to power and fighting injustice. His view was that to be an artist was not to be a passive observer, especially when your community and society needs you to point out the wrongs. Although he was not afraid of debate, he had a way of putting people at ease and was a humble man. He did not dwell on his worldwide recognition as a playwright, which continues as his plays were part of the South African canon and are the subject of numerous academic studies and discussions. He served South African arts community in various capacities for 43 years. He was truly committed to the country of his birth and in his belief in the transformative power of the arts, exemplified in the way his plays always expressed the humanity of people. He believed in the essential nature of Black people, that our humanity could and was sustained by the arts despite the brutalizing effects of apartheid during and after its demise. After completing his master's degree from Leeds University, he was appointed a lecturer at the University of the Witwatersrand. It was at Wits that he published Doing Plays for a Change in 1995, which was a collection of his plays written between 1979 and 1986. Recently, he also published 2 poetry collections, This Land is My Witness in 2016 and Das Karg in the Land in 2018. In the latter publication, he was employing a powerful metaphor to protest the tragic death of Michael Komape, a child who fell into a pit latrine and died in 2014. He was also registering the marginalization of the vulnerable communities under South African democracy. These poetry collections were an artistic culmination of his preoccupations in the 2000s. He was part of the Save South Africa civic movement, which was organized to challenge political malfeasance, which became a matter of public debate between 2014 and 2018. His contribution to the arts included taking the position of Director of Arts, Culture and Heritage Services in the city between 2001 and 2003. When Maponya was a youth, he embarked on the lifelong journey of being an artist. In the 1970s, he became interested in poetry, through which he met Matsimela Managa, who became a lifelong friend. He was part of the Ala Poets, and they were active in the era as they forged an artistic path to resist the effects of apartheid on their peers. In the group were Ingwapele Madingwane, Managa, Makulu Ledwaba, Ofeng Mashilo, and Frank Mashiko, as well as Maishe Maponya and Moses Managa, among numerous other contributors. Maponya and his compatriots were taken up by the spirit of black consciousness. In fact, the idea that a young man or a young woman could freely express pride in their blackness and intellect was revolutionary, as was openly rejecting the imposed colonial name South Africa in favor of Azania. Maishe Maponya chose to celebrate the heritage of black people primarily through the creative use of spoken and written words. Besides being a poet, he was a playwright, actor, director, academic, and produced his own plays. He was the founder of Bahumutsi Theatre Group in the 1970s. Thinking of the struggle that was going on in the 1970s and 1980s, it is easy to forget that there was a lot of creativity in Soweto. Maponya lived in Diepkloof, and he used his resources. He used the resources available to him to be creative. He refused to be despondent or succumb to the effects of apartheid. This group saw themselves as the comforters and demonstrated that the arts involved the community of all African peoples and that African philosophies were the best antidote to colonialism and apartheid. Thank goodness he did that, because now there is a sizable legacy of 13 plays that he has left behind. The 1970s were a productive time for him. His plays The Cry, written in 1975, and Peace and Forgive, written in 1977, started him on a journey of highlighting social injustice, but more importantly, articulating the idea that black people as a society should combine their efforts to fight injustice. In these plays, he showcased his admiration for African culture in the words, the dance, music, and cultural practices of South Africa's cultures. Of all his creative output of the 1970s, The Hungry Earth, written in 1979, was a highlight. During that time, apartheid racial hierarchies blatantly conspired to exploit black people and see them as mere tools in the white-controlled capitalist industries. The gold mines also deprived black people of their dignity and made it impossible for Africans to enjoy family life, along with human rights infringements. The play illustrated the effects of apartheid to South Africa and the world as they were performed in Soweto, Johannesburg, West Germany, Britain, America. Indeed, black people's lives were seen as disposable, but the play also illustrated the resilience of black people in how they came together to resist oppression. Maponya was part of the generation that originated the notion that theater was a form of resistance because, in being creative, blacks were reclaiming their humanity and dignity. One of the highlights of the 1980s was the play Umongikazi, the Nurse, which examined the undermining of black nurses and doctors by their white counterparts in the health sector. The play was not only an indictment of how anti-black thinking had warped the thinking of privileged members of society, but it was also humorous because even when confronting injustice, black people are not represented in a one-dimensional way. Maponya's plays also created an opportunity for other actors to establish their careers in South Africa. Perhaps the most enduring of his plays were Dirty Work and Gangsters, written in 1984. In particular, gangsters repositioned the moral argument offered by the apartheid government. At that time, the government told the international community that South Africa allowed for separate development of all race groups. In answer, the play simply exposed the regime as gangsters. Yes, the play was inspired by the tragic death of Steve Biko while in police custody by the apartheid government. But the play was also poetic, musical, and intensely dramatic, and showcases gifts for capturing the essence of our collective lives. It also represented the potency and urgency that made Black consciousness an enduring philosophy in the development of Black people. Maishe Maponya made friends with a wide spectrum of the arts industry. It is impossible to name all of them. Fortunately, all this material is kept in one repository. In 2017, he donated his scripts, posters, letters, photographs, and other related materials to the UNISA library. His legacy is being protected in a professional archive for future scholarship. In the last few weeks, when I saw him, Maponya spoke of his memorial as the last word on his life. Perhaps this is merely transcendence, as each generation of artists, activists, young women, and young men look for inspiration from our long, enduring lineage of elders, those still with us, as well as the departed. Rest in power, Ntate Maishe, our beloved brother and comrade. In 1995, in the play Gangsters, he wrote, "All ye black shadows, very darkness of the gunslinger's high noon, awake and break open the gates of the Azanian morning. Grope, dear children, wettle your fingers, grab the pole and raise the flag drenched in blood, and give us a song for this victory. Amandla to the people, Amandla to the people." Thank you.
Through veils of oppression and deliberate injustice, we had a call saying, "On your marks, get set, ready, go. Run, Africa, run." We march just to be one, multitudes beyond the rainbow of hope, beyond the rainbow of colonies. They are colonies. We march.
Ke dumedise Maishe Maponya. Mosebetsi wa rona ko monyane haholo. It's simply to send the thanks to the family for giving us this giant, not an entertainer, not a star, but a real artist. The challenge facing this country, we are having more of celebrities than artists. The elder was the real artist. I will read from the pages of Aikwe Ama, as this message is from the elders. From the book, The House of Life. I quote, "May you remember our names, knowing they carry the markers of our characters. May you keep our names, the youngest descendants being called after the oldest ancestor, so that none of our names is lost. The loss of our ancestral names is the loss of our living soul." Me se re se etsang sena ke serona, e seng se bona serona. Me re tla kopa Rangwane a tle ka pele. Rangwane Ausi Patu sa le teng mona, o tsamaile tsela e telele le borre Maishe le ba bantsi. Me ke tlo kopa gore re eme. May all stand. As we hand over this token of appreciation to the family, Ausi Pati o tla fa mama kobo entle gore a futhumale gobane o mo botsididing. Ga ngwana a tlhaga go tla bomme. Yaanong because leswana le o na kalla ka molamu, re tla tshwanela gore re fe mosimane wa gagwe wa letsibulo molamu gore a itse gore ntwa e kopile. Me ka sena sebaka re tla fa Ausi Pati. Ga ke bone mama mona. Oh, mama Guan, thanks for the lights. Ausi Pati, re o fa kobo ye o apese mama hobane o hloka lona. Thank you very much. Ke kope ntate Mutsumi ankatamele ra ke kopa wena ra. E go fa tiro ka jeno lena. Tiro ya rona ke go fa molamu ona Rangwane a tsebe go fa tšetše. As an elder. Mo fa molamu. Rona re di witnesses. Thank you. Re a leboga Sisnax.
Thobela le kae? A ke ra bona meropa, there is drums. Ne? Each one of you a kana tshwara moropa ra tla ra tswela pele.
Can we have the video before the Tlogolo Ditla, introduced by Me Riban? Just the video. Yeah, Me Gcina Mhlope. Oh, sorry, ke audio.
poet,
Yeah.
friend, leader Maishe Maponya, the gift of knowing you, the journey to hospitals to gather stories for a special gift bag for the marketplace. Yes, the market theatre, the Lager Theatre. Oh, I was lucky to stand on that stage. I was lucky to journey with you from journalism at Lenin Teach magazine to Umongi Kazi. That is who I became. A kind of nurse who was going to share the precious stories of Baragwanath hospital nurses on so many stages, from journalism to the world stages, with you, my brother. Humble and consistent. Friend, teacher, mentor, cultural activist, you fought for what you believed in and always stood by your truth. Taking that trip to tell the greater world about the hard times we were living in under the horrible apartheid regime, the times we were living in this land of our forefathers. All the gifts you shared with us did not seem to earn you a place at the winner's podium. That is a shame, my brother, a crying shame. Because your life was a blessing. We who knew you, we say your memories a treasure. At last you're at peace. Your soul is at rest. No need to struggle and hurt anymore. You loved, you laughed, you taught, you guided. Now the damn hungry earth has claimed you. But the ancestral platforms are smiling, beating magic drums as they welcome you to that unique place where Mother Earth will embrace you in her loving arms. Condolences to your family, to your friends, to those who adored and celebrated you. You will never be forgotten, my brother. Go on, take your rightful place amongst your comrades in rhythmic, poetic expression. O Eskiam Pahlele, Ingwapele Madingwane, Matsimela Manaka, Miriam Tladi, Yebo, Bagulindile. Philip Tabane, Tami Mnyele, Mafika Gwala, Alfred Kabula, bonke bakulindile. Mihlatshwayo, Ahmad Dango, Moses Mulelekwa, Jonas Gwangwa, Sibongile Khumalo, bakulindile. Busi Mhlongo, Miriam Makeba, Africa's Empress of Song, bonke bakulindile. Siyavalelisa uma senze njena sithi kuwena nsizwa yakithi qhawele Azania mina ngiyengunokugcina wakamhlophe ngikhumbula ungibiza uthi ngingubagcinile mina kanye nabaningi siyazi ukuthi uyibekile induku ebandla phumula mfoka Maponya phumula ngazwilinye siyasho sithi Maishe ingoma.
Ala, limukwile gcina wakamhlophe. Kana koe will call Ditlogolo, Bokolofelo, and to come and give their tribute. Kibontle, Litabo, Ligreni, if you can just please come forward.
my family and all Uncle Maishe's friends. It's hard not to cry and get emotional thinking back at all, the memories and the times that we shared together. From Uncle Maishe picking us up to take us to lunch dates, to checking to see if our family was at peace and checking to see if we're all happy and content with the life. He has always had a way of amazing me by his sense of calmness and being humble. I think we can all agree that Uncle Maishe was a very, very peaceful person. Nasanandwa, like he wanted to see everyone happy. But the purpose of us being here is not to dwell on the sad moments. We are here to celebrate his life, and we are here to celebrate the memories and the legacy he left behind. From him being a musician, to a poet, to a playwright, and many more. Uncle Maishe was a man that was made to inspire and motivate a black child to fulfill his dream. Thank you.
Feel no guilt in laughter. He'd know how much we care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that he is not here to share. We cannot grieve forever. He would not want us to. Ke Maishe le Tebele, phiri ya feta manamane a timela. He'd hoped that we could carry on the way we always do. Let the memories surround us. A word that someone would say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day that brings him back as clearly as though he was still here, and fills us with the feeling that he is always near. Ke Maishe le Tebele, phiri ya feta manamane a timela. For if we keep those moments, we will never be apart. He will forever live locked safely within our hearts. Ke Maishe le Tebele, phiri ya feta manamane a timela. Ke a leboga.
Don't cry for me, I'll be okay. Heaven is now my home, and this is where I'll stay. Don't cry for me, it was just my time, but I'll see you someday on the other side. Don't cry for me, I'm not alone. The angels are with me to welcome me home. Don't cry for me, for I have no fear. All my pain is gone, and Jesus took my tears. Don't cry for me, this is not the end. I'll be waiting here for you when we meet again. I'll remember you each day that I live. You are such a good person with so much to give. Such a privilege to have known you. Ho bala ka kgotso tlong.
Away. I cannot say, I will not say, that he is dead. He is just away. With a cherished smile and a wave of hand, he has wandered into an unknown land and left us dreaming how very far. It needs, must be, since he lingers there. And you, oh you, who wildest earn, from the old time step and led return. Think of his faring on as dear, in the love of there, as the love of here. Think of him still the same way, I say. He is not dead, he is just away, residing in our hearts. We know you can no longer stay with us. You fought long and hard to be with us. We know you now watch over and protect us, although we cannot hear your voice or see your smiling face. We know deep down in our hearts that you have not left us.
ra leboga ke setlogolo sa ga Maponya Segodi boela mawetši. Hey, re a leboga ditlogolo. Would like, we now come to the end of the program. Would like to say thank you very much. I will start with the young ones to say thank you for the tribute, wonderful tribute that you paid to Uncle Maishe. And thank you so much to all of you who braved the circumstances under which we are operating and decided to make sure that you are here to celebrate this giant with us. Would like to thank the Market Theatre under the stewardship of the artistic director, wonderful Mr. James Ngobo. Thank you so much for this. And thank you to Bobby Rodwell, who made sure that everything gets organized and organized all the djembe drums for you as well. And Bobby had always had been on the road with Maishe in all the productions and everything that she's doing. Would like to say thank you, Bobby. And would like to thank the Maponya Funerals, all the artists, Mideko, Meropa, thank you so much. Thank you, Themba Kanyati, for your wonderful rendition of the Mbongi that you did, to Makomela Manaka, with the reminiscent of your fathers and your father's friends, and the poem that you did of Ingwapele, Madiwan, and Matsimela Manaka. And the other speakers also that were flighted through, like Eugene Skiff. And at this moment, we'd also like to thank Rax Siahwa. Rax has been one of Maishe's best friends and artistic friends and political friends. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us because after he had been with the family over the weekend and he just started coughing and not feeling well, and he decided maybe it's better if he stays there. We know you are tuned in. If you're watching, thank you, Rax. And we'd like to thank Ntate Tsiye ka Siruna, Messi Pati, Bulani Hopa, who always rises. She shows up when she has to all the time. And we want to, of all of this, if there's anyone that I'd forgotten, Kinela, what do you say? Matsoho. Matsoho Metsi. And we'd like to thank the Maponya family, represented by Roy. Thank you, Roy, for really showing up when you had to. And for Davis, these are all the Maponyas, for taking all the technical direction and everything that you see here. This is done by one of the Maponyas, Davis. And to Maile, who has been coordinating everything from friends and artists and social media. There's been more messages than we have. Is that we couldn't read them because you had seen them being flighted everywhere on social media, either WhatsApps and stuff like that. We want to thank all those people who took their time to actually write the tributes. People like Nwasa from Dr. Lebogang, Nawa, there's lots of other people like Adrina Mhlope, I think Sam Mate. There's quite a number of people who actually wrote very long, beautiful tributes. Thank you so much, Andile Kaba, for the wonderful obituary that you penned and incorporated everything that's about Maishe, and then that you put all to us here. Well, you can all see Maishe has left this earth empty, 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 empty. He left empty. You can see all his products. These are all his products. Where Maishe is living, he has done what he needed to do, and he's not going to be answerable for anyone, anywhere, because what he needed to do, he's left the baton. He has taught, he has done everything that he needed to. He is empty, empty. We thank you so much for that. And I would like to thank my very able fellow program director, Ntate Matsuma Khene. This wouldn't have been possible without your stewardship. Ntate Makhene always, everywhere where They are artists. He knows what to do, who to direct. He is a curator of people, a wonderful curator of people. And, we were talking over the weekend, and he's talking about how it looks like people in our age group are almost like, I don't want to say it, because then you say it tomorrow, you're gone. But then we still are here. We still are here, guys. Relax and make sure that when you leave this earth, like Maishe, we're all going to leave empty. Thank you so much. Make it boni. Batho ba tlile ba o kgothaditse mme kaofela le lelapa ra leboha, and we hope o bile le wena wa mo pelong wa ipulela hore let's release Maishe, re mo lokolle a tsamaye ka kgotso. Tsena o ba boletse batho ba kaofela Maishe a tla kopanang le bona pele ba bangata hampe, the list is just endless. And o lokolohe kaofela lelapa le bana le kgaitsedi le dikgaitsedi le bo ausi Mamudipa and everybody who took part here. Thank you so much. And for now, we'll have the last bit from Midloko Miropa, and then I've been told that I must tell you that there will be refreshments outside just before you leave. And in the meantime, those who can join Midloko, and especially I can see that Ditlogolo, they're onto it. Everyone, where there's a drum next to you, when they will be playing, grab a drum, that's what it's meant for, and make sure that you try beat and think of Maishe and Ditlogolo say Maishe Maponya. So that's it from me, and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Dumela, guy. Can we divide ourselves into 3 groups? So this is our first group. We're gonna do the first beat, second group, and last group. Thank you. First group ready. So first group is gonna give us the heartbeat. So our beat in J, it's regular, ne? Okay. Heartbeat. Second group, are you ready? Beautiful. Third group. Les up. Let's go, Miss. A bit faster. Okay, wasa wasa, it means we must go down. Let's play. We must go down. Can you hear the first beat? Second beat.